next section is defined, we call it as the networking mantra. And networking is a very, very overly used term. So probably if you could, jump in, if we can jump in here and get Amber to answer the importance of networking. I think, Amber, you briefly did touch upon it in your answer about shortlisting. If you can, if I can, ask you specifically how important can you just hit the point direct and answer to our viewers how important networking stands in this whole scheme of B School application?
I'd probably rank it as number one. If you have to rank all the things, you could put the GMAT, the essays, the resume, the interview. I would definitely put the networking effort you put in at number one, hands down. And it's not just the fact that the networking helps you to get to know about the school. I remember when I was talking to schools, I wrote a mail, and there were some schools in the US that were very helpful. I applied to Cornell; they were a very helpful school. I wrote to 9 people. I ended up talking to 22. In ESA, I reached out on LinkedIn to about 3 people. I spoke to about 7 of them. So, and there were some schools obviously that are not that where the networking effort is not at your doorstep, but the effort you need to take is significantly higher. So you might write to 5 and you might get a call. You might be able to talk to 1. And what it does is it just doesn't only let you understand the school better. It gives you a lot to talk about in your essays and your interview. And I think that is the differentiating aspect, because schools as well want to see somebody who's taken the effort to know about the school, about their potential classmates, and what the school as a brand offers. And that, I think, is irreplaceable.
That's a great insight, and I think I'm just gonna pick the first line here where you said that you would rank it number one, as opposed to a very common perception or common understanding, especially here with a lot of folks I see, is that they tend to rank GMAT as probably the number one factor, and they think that okay, if they've got a 740 or 760, a top 5 FT ranked school is a given. That it's there's no way that's not gonna happen. But a very, very different insight that we get here from you, and it's very, very interesting. So just switching gears on the same lines, Akshay, how would you define this word networking? I mean, in your personal experience, and for our viewers out there, what suggestions would you give them on how to network and with whom to network?
Right. So I think in my case, since I was a little more wedded to ESA as a school so just to give some background, I had applied in my first year in my round 2 and I was waitlisted, and I maintained relationship with the school. And since I was hellbent on ESA as a school, applying to early decision next year was a no-brainer, and I had gotten in that round. So just to give you some context, because I think I can walk you through how my journey was during this entire process. I think I had interactions with the admissions committee on a very, very regular basis just to see what I was lacking in my application, what I could improve on. Were there any suggestions from their side? Is there any additional effort that I could put in next year when I apply? And so on and so forth. And this was really helpful because it also gave me inputs as to how to improve my application. But it also, more importantly, also highlighted how serious I was about the school on a consistent basis, not just on one round, but spanning a course of 2 different years applications, right from R2 to next year's ED. And obviously early decision is a very clear indicator of intent. But the fact that I continued the conversation throughout R2 to ED with a focus on trying to keep learning more about the school, keep trying to realize why it's a better fit for me, keep trying to improving my application in terms of how I would be a good fit for the school. I think a continuous conversation with the caveat in the head that this conversation should purely be from a point of view of you wanting to learn about the school and you wanting to understand it better. All the other perks that follow are byproducts, and they follow. You don't need to seek them. You don't need to be wedded to them. You just need to approach it from an information point of view. Everything else will follow. And I think even Amber will agree with me on this point of view, that you do see it in the interview calls that you get. You do see it in your results as to which school is really interested in you and which school actually sees the effort that you've been trying to put in. It's very evident. You can actually see it. There's no two way about it.
100%. I can't disagree with Akshay here. Every school will ask you, who have we spoken to? What did you talk
Yes.
about? What do you know about a school? And that's how you get to know about the school.
Absolutely. I think again, this your insights about both of your insights about how to network and who to network with and where it stands up in terms of the overall importance of the B School application is great. And just going back to what I think Amber mentioned, that you never know where this might be asked. For people who may not have ever applied, if I could just share something, that while I was applying, I did not know that the application itself will have this question: have you attended these events? So if you have attended these events and if you've spoken to the alumni, your answer there is positive rather than negative, which adds a lot of seriousness to your profile, which I think Akshay also spoke briefly about. If quickly on the networking topic, I could ask maybe each of you one point to for the incoming candidates who are hearing you and who are learning from this video, things not to do while networking, or things where people you have seen go wrong when people approach you on LinkedIn, or just one top of the head recommendation that people should be mindful of.
I can, yeah, I can start with this. I think one big thing that I would say to keep in mind when reaching to people is have a clear intent. I think the moment you see a very clear intent as to why that person wants to reach out to you with a very structured message which highlights as to why you are the right person to help him, I think that itself takes care of 70-80% of the problem, because you know that you can provide value addition to his process. The moment I know I can provide value addition to someone's process, I am basically wedded to his application. Then I'll be interested, and then I will reply, and then I'll obviously take it forward from there. And for example, I would always be more inclined, or I would think I would be more useful person and is applying to very similar schools to me, having a very similar approach. But that's not to say I won't help others, but I don't think I would provide as much as a value addition vis-a-vis me trying to help someone with a very similar background. That would be my sort of as to how to try and get a very, because in the end you have to structure it in a way as to how that insight is going to help you. It's not a conversation for the sake of a conversation.
Absolutely. Amber, do you want to add something to that?
I think Akshay beat me to it. That's exactly the first thing I was going to say. Have a very clear ask and give. So that's pretty much what Akshay said. I think the next stage of that is where I would like to add something which I have seen firsthand, is be respectful of somebody else's time. They're helping you out. Just be nice about it. Like, ask them when they're free. If you've set up a 30-minute call, be sure it's a 30-minute call. And it's okay to be a minute or two late, but just send a message if you're running late. Things like that.
Just probably adding from my anecdote as well. I think another thing which I have personally seen that can go a long way is you've got to be very, very well prepared with your research. So when you reach out with your first question or with your ask, just make sure that it is not something that can easily be accessed by the website, right? Website is your first source, and if your answers lie there, you don't really have to ask those same questions to people. So I think one strategy that I've also seen work well is be very like make the questions personalized. Maybe ask them about their experiences and ask them questions which are not really out there on the website, especially.